Good evening, YouTube. So I have made it to Fort Smith, Arkansas. The load unloads at 9:30 a.m. and so I found a place to park about 1.4 miles or so from where the load delivers to, roughly. So actually got quite warm today. I was watching the temperature on a thermometer here on my truck, and it was 89. I think at one point it even reached 90, but it was mostly 89. It was in the 80s, and then 89. It stayed there for a long time. So there's this Android, and I think there's an iOS version of it as well, app called Waze, W-A-Z-E. It is a so-called social GPS. And it's been around for a while, and I know a lot of people have liked it for a long time. I've had it installed. I had it installed on my the Nexus 7 that I use here in the truck. I keep it stuck to my dash. Got a dash mount, so I use it in large part for GPS functionality, looking at Google Maps, looking places up, seeing satellite view, playing podcasts, playing audiobooks, with so on and so forth through a Bluetooth speaker. And so I have Waze installed on that, and periodically I'll look at that. But I think something has happened with Waze. Of course, Google bought it, I don't know, a long time ago now. And Google bought it for a reason, because they thought there's something to this, and there is. Something has happened with it. Now it's getting to to sort of a critical mass. Because I'm sure for a long time in cities it's already been at the critical mass for it to be useful in a sort of city environment, but now it's getting useful in a more rural environment. And specifically today I was going across Interstate 40 in Arkansas, and I was in between, I was around Brinkley, Arkansas, that's in between Memphis and Little Rock, and the traffic on the interstate came, I was westbound, it came to a complete stop. And so I went ahead and I opened up the Waze app, W-A-Z-E, that I have on my Nexus 7. And there were, the thing is that people can post, make a little, it's called map chat, and you can pick a thing and post it. And so I looked at a couple of the little bubbles. You just tap on them, and then one of them said complete standstill, and then I found this other one, and it said major accident. And so the road, the traffic moved a little bit, and I was about a mile and not a mile and a half, a little over a mile from an exit. And so then the traffic began to move a little bit. It started inching forward, as it does sometimes, even if the traffic's blocked. And it went far enough ahead, I was able to get off at that exit. And I'm very glad that I did, because I continued to watch the Waze app, and more of the little bubbles popped up on Interstate 40. The detour that I took around it, kind of paralleled, it was US Highway 70, paralleled Interstate 40 pretty much. And so I could look over there and I could see those bubbles, and there were getting to be more and more of them. And it turned out that it was blocked both ways. There were people going eastbound towards Memphis. They were saying the same thing. Traffic is at a complete stop. It's just a dead standstill. So I think I saved myself a lot of time, and probably I will get the load there on time, versus had I made the wrong choice and it chose to sit in the traffic, I might have ended up sitting there for hours, and then I wouldn't have been able to make it here to Fort Smith. So, but Waze, I think, it's at the point where it's actually useful even in more rural areas, because when I've looked at it before, even when there was big traffic jams in more rural areas, you wouldn't see too many bubbles, the little bubbles, where people had posted things. But now you see quite a bit of them, so I think a lot more people are using it. And of course, something like that, the more people that use it, the better. And then I did notice later, that the Google Plus here on my phone did pop up, and it said it knew that I was on Interstate 40, of course, and it popped up and said that there was an accident, but I didn't find it until I looked a while ago, and then I saw that it said that. It popped up with a notification, so I wasn't really looking for that. I haven't had that do that before. But so Waze, W-A-Z-E. I think now it's at the point where it's getting really worthwhile. I'm sure it was if you're, like I say, I'm sure it was if you were driving around in cities. I'm sure it was already kind of a useful thing to have, but at this point, it's probably, even more so, because more people that are driving around in rural areas have it, and if you can get people to actually post things on there especially if there is a traffic backup, then the more information the better, and so then it becomes possible to, you can't always detour around those things, but in a lot of cases you can, and so in this case it was very handy to be able to do that, because those people that were stuck in that traffic, I'm assuming they may have been stuck there for hours, because if it was a major enough accident to completely block both sides of the interstate, that's pretty big deal, because Interstate 40 is very busy. It's a very busy roadway, and the traffic, you're talking backups that were miles long going in both directions. So in any case, that was able to avoid that. So anyhow, I need to cut this off. So from Fort Smith, Arkansas, I'll catch you later.